broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Carry on my wayward son.
We are carrying on our wayward sons. Days when you're done. Right here at AfterBuzz TV with Season 10, Episode 19, Supernatural, the Werther Project. Mikaela, Katie, and I are going to talk all about this episode today with you guys. Feel free to join in on the conversation with the hashtag ABTV Supernatural on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all things social media. Find us. You guys can find me on Twitter at Lyndsey Wegner. Mikaela, where can they find you on Twitter?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Mickey_Phillips.
And Katie?
You can find me on Twitter at Katie E. Campbell. That's Katie with 3 E's Campbell.
Wonderful. Let's keep this conversation going. What did you ladies think of this episode?
It was finally some progress in the storyline, which we are desperately waiting for and clinging to find out. So I was just glad that the story was kind of progressing. We were kind of getting a little bit more intricate in the storyline.
Mm-hmm. I really like that. I like what they're doing with how we can possibly solve this Mark of Cain. Like, I like this whole book story and where it came from, where it was hidden. Like, I really am enjoying what they're doing with it. I'm scared, but I'm enjoying it.
Yes, that's right. Last week you were telling us you didn't want them to use the book. Are you still anti them using the book, Katie?
For all things being like flowers and happy, kind of, but at the same time, like, it's going to be a good story, I can tell. So I'm intrigued by what they're doing.
Yes, I agree. And like Mikaela said, we're finally getting some progress on the Mark of Cain potentially with this book. So obviously it's important for them to figure out what's going on and to translate it and all these things, which is why they need the help of Rowena, which we get to see her return. We saw the return of Benny. I think it's always kind of awesome when we get to see characters come back. It just like, we know that no one really ever permanently leaves Supernatural. Like, I feel like we could almost get Kevin back at some point. You know, we finally got Kevin's mom last season. Yeah. So I feel like Supernatural leaves the door open, even when people die, to get them back. We got Bobby back. Like, I love that.
Right. Like, you get the flashbacks even. It's, yeah.
And it's fun for us as fans to see these characters again because we have a connection with them. And for them to be brought back into the story somehow, it's really, I think it's fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so let's jump into the episode. We are taken to St. Louis, Missouri in 1975. This girl is kind of doing the chores, kind of annoyed, angsty teenager, typical 1970s teenager. Horrible, horrible clothes at that time. Although I love the 70s. But she goes down to the basement to go do some laundry, and I don't understand her whole, like, breaking the wall down.
Right, because that's what you do when you're upset. You just take the hammer to the wall.
It confused me because I felt like she had no motivation to do that. Was there something that I missed?
I was thinking, because it didn't make sense to me at first, but then I was thinking maybe this box is somehow calling her, like, in some weird way for her to see what's behind that wall.
I think she was just I don't know why she chose to hammer a wall down, but that was just like how she dealt with like her, I guess, like her anger and like just annoyance of like her family and I guess what we presume to her brother.
Yeah, it was very weird for me to see her just like break this wall down. She breaks the wall down. She sees this box, which we find out is the Werther box, and this force throws her. And this, like, green, yellow, black smoke, like, goes out and kind of takes over the house. And as she goes upstairs, she finds out that her whole family has basically committed suicide. You know, her brother has hung himself, her dad has shot himself, and her mom literally slits her neck right in front of her. So we know that this box has some sort of magical powers. And of course, that leads us to Sam and Rowena's conversation about how he wants Rowena's help in figuring out this decoding of the Book of the Damned.
I thought it was so interesting that she said, "Kill my son." that was her terms. For me to help you, you need to kill my son. I thought it was interesting.
Did we all say
that last week?
Yeah, exactly. We predicted that, right?
Yeah, but I still think like, wow, I can't believe she wants to just end him.
She didn't say why. When, I mean, obviously, like, probably the most clear reason would be for her to take over hell. But I don't know, because I remember you guys last week were saying that. You were like, yeah, like, she's totally going to ask them to kill Crowley. And I was like, really? I was like, I feel like it would involve more the Grand Coven. But she did also mention that as well. So
exactly.
I feel like we were all kind of on par there with that.
I don't think she's going to do the dirty work herself. She wants someone else to have to do it. And I do think, I agree with you, Mikaela, that I think it's about her wanting to rule hell and be the only one there and not have to deal with Crowley because, as she said, she's embarrassed by him and what he's doing and stuff. So obviously she wants him gone. Go ahead, Katie.
But I think it's really interesting because she thinks that Crowley is, at the side of the Winchester brothers and he helps them and he says, he's not friends with them, but keep your enemies closer and all these things. But at the end of the day, he still works with them. And now she's working with the Winchester as well. So she can't really hate on him for that.
It's like she's trying to steal the alliance maybe even and like get the Winchesters on her side.
Well, I think it was yours, Mikaela, that you said last week that you think that the book is actually hers and she has brought this around so it comes full circle, so they have to use the book in order to break down the spell, but that she basically kind of planted it for them to find in order to like get rid of this Mark of Cain, which I hope that's not a whole like fake storyline that she's just screwing them over, kind of like we found out about Metatron.
Right.
But I, as we see more of this episode, I'm starting to really truly believe that she totally planted the book for them, and this is her way of getting rid of Crowley now.
It really could be, and I kind of thought the same. Like, I hope it doesn't, like, that doesn't happen with the book where it's kind of like just a ruse and she can't actually help them, because it was the end scene where Sam like chains her to like decode it, and I was like, the way she was looking at it and going over the book, I was like, oh, she just wants it for herself. I was like, can she actually even do this? So that thought kind of crossed my mind there.
I'm glad that he chained her though, because you never know what Rowena's gonna do.
But like,
she can get out of
are they anti-magic chains?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work? So
is
that'll be
there,
interesting.
like, I feel like they have to put her in like one of like the spell circles or something, so that she can't like leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you figure she could probably just get out of the shackles.
I think they were anti-spell.
You think they were anti-spell shackles. Okay. So we see her, and she does say she can decode it, but she's going to need help. And the codex, which can be found through the Men of Letters, they have to find that first in order for her to be able to translate it. And she also mentioned another witch, Nadia. So she was also from the Grand Coven, so I feel like we're going to meet more of the witches. I still want that backstory on the Grand Coven and all of them and all of that and everybody back. So, Sam does say he'll kill Crowley. He's got no problem doing it. And just like, crazy. Like, I don't want Crowley to die. I love Crowley so much.
I don't either, but it makes sense that he would say he's going to kill him because he has to save Dean. He's going to do anything at this point.
I really don't believe they would go off and kill Crowley in the storyline, though. So it'll be interesting play of events to see what happens.
I love that she's going to be working with Sam and potentially Dean to do this, and against Crowley when Crowley is working with them too. So I feel like there's going to be, at some point, we're going to get something from Crowley saying, you guys need to get rid of my mother. She's going to use you guys, and she's only playing you too. So I feel like we'll get Crowley's side of it too once he finds out that they're working together.
I agree.
I want to know Dean's opinion too, because he's like none the wiser.
He doesn't know it yet.
So I think he might be against it at first as well.
They showed us, they gave us a preview last week that made it seem like Dean was upset with Sam and he knew something was going on, but we didn't see any of that in this episode.
I thought for sure he was going to find out what Sam was doing in this episode, especially when Dean ran down to the basement. That was the biggest shock for me.
Well, and I thought it was interesting. I felt like we had a different side of Dean this whole episode. From the initial killing when he was in Tulsa with the beheading and then saying he killed 6 people.
The 6 vamps?
The 6 vampires.
Didn't that just feel not Dean, like more Demon Dean or more Mark of Cain Dean? Did you ladies feel like that, or was that just me?
No, didn't he make a comment and he was like, I had to feed the mark? Did I hear that, or am I somewhere else? I don't know.
I missed that.
Because there was that Sam and Dean kind of confrontation when then Sam comes and meets Dean. He's like, oh, I just killed 6 vamps, like took them all on.
No, what he said is that it's the only way he can kill the edge off.
Okay.
So, like, he gets this, like, feeding. He wants to feed the mark. It's like it's asking for him to feed the mark, but he's using it in a positive way, killing the bad guys, you know. So I think I didn't find it too weird that he was doing that. Like the fact that he did say he wants to kill the edge off, and also he seemed kind of normal still. He seemed like Dean. He was making jokes and he wanted to go relax for the rest of the night. He wasn't totally lost. Like we've seen him a couple times when he did actually kill after being back from being a demon. He was just a little off.
I thought it was interesting too how they slipped in that little like confrontation between the two of them, and how like they were talking about, you know, like, why didn't you wait for me? Sam asked him, and he's like, I can handle it. Dean said. I was like, I feel like we're going to see a little bit more of that, and maybe that'll come into it with Rowena when Dean finds out. He'll be like, we don't need her help, or I don't know, something like that. I don't think it'll be the last confrontation leading up to the season finale.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're going to have a confrontation at some point to discuss what's been going on, and the fact that Sam's definitely worried about this mark more than he's letting on to Dean. I love Dean's comment about going home and watching Speed 2 Cruise Control. First off, I loved that movie. I thought it was fantastic. But I like Sandra Bullock and Jason Patrick, so I was like, yay, funny. Okay, anyway, so Sam is listening. He's in the bunker. He's trying to search for clues to figure out how they can, get a hold of this codex, and he finds some Men of Letters tapes and knows that there's a chapter in St. Louis. He listens to this Men of Letters tape, which is basically Cuthbert Sinclair from 1956. This was their a meeting they did, finding out that he's been disciplined 7 times about this issue. The Werther box, which is a vault and has warning spell, it has a 98% lethality. The Men of Letters have died trying to break into this. So what can they do? And Cuthbert apologizes for the accident of killing them, but isn't going to stop. He's going to let them figure out how they have to actually get it so that it doesn't kill more people. He's like, well, then you just keep doing it. And obviously the Men of Letters aside, they're just
want to put it away,
let it go, shelf it.
What's interesting, though, is that we see later on how they actually do open it with the blood from the Men of Letters. So, like, all of them sitting at that table could have given just a little bit and opened it back then, right?
Right, but I think the reason the 2 guys that had died doing it probably tried to give all of their blood, and it wasn't enough, and then they killed them, which is why they died. Or then they just killed themselves, which technically it's asking you to kill yourself. It's asking for your blood.
Show some kind of illusion to make you think, I need to kill myself right now.
Or they weren't aware of that also. Like, that kind of crossed my mind, that maybe they weren't aware of that, going about opening a different way, and maybe it got to them and made them kill themselves before they could even open it, because when Rowena was trying to open it, she was saying, like, the light was gone, and she had to do, like, a spell to make it light up. So maybe they couldn't even read it. I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Well, and like I said, there was only one way to silence the box. And so we didn't know at the time what that was. We obviously find out later, and thankfully with Rowena's help, she kind of saved the day a little bit there. But Sam and Rowena are on the phone. Sam needs a spell to basically break this spell, an invocation spell, which he says he can do on his own, and he doesn't need her help.
I was going to ask you guys that. Did you think, like, Sam, like, it was going to go wrong? Like, did you think he could really do it himself?
No. I love you, Sam, but I had no faith in completely letting him just go on his own.
I thought Rowena was going to show up as well, but she actually didn't. Because that wasn't her. That was an illusion.
Wait, what?
Down there. I was freaking out when this happened later on. When Sam was giving all of his blood and Dean went and helped give the blood. Dean didn't see Rowena because Rowena was Sam's illusion. So Rowena was the illusion telling Sam to kill himself by draining all of your blood.
But she was there before that. She was upstairs with them.
Yeah.
That wasn't her. That was the illusion.
But Dean was, like, in his own world back then, too.
Because she was, like, snapping her fingers in front of him, but Sam hadn't done anything.
Wait, why would it be Sam's illusion when, like, it didn't get into Sam? It got into Susie and Dean.
But it had to have gotten into him because it went out and passed through him, through the basement, and then up above to the other 2. Because the reason that Dean didn't see her downstairs, then all of a sudden she was just gone, is because that was his illusion, and that was convincing Sam to drain all of his blood when just actually you can use Dean and Sam's blood.
I like the idea that Rowena was trying to like do that to him, because that kind of, I was like, is Rowena purposely trying to like end Sam here and get it for herself? That crossed my mind, but I don't think that it was.
I don't think it was an illusion either.
Yeah.
Because later on she said she got the book and she was like, oh my gosh, you got it. She wasn't there.
Okay, maybe it was an illusion. Maybe like she did like some spell where she could split herself and like half of her was there and half of her was there.
No.
Okay, we obviously
clear
two very different opinions here. Let us know what you guys are thinking on YouTube or iTunes or Twitter. Let us know if you think that Rowena was an illusion or not. If you agree with Katie or if you agree with Mikaela and I that we thought she was really there. And one of us isn't right. Two of us aren't right. We'll find out. I'm all aflutter right now.
Yeah, I'm like it's not an illusion.
Okay. So they obviously get to the house, and I love that Sam was there by himself, and Dean just shows up. And this is what I'm saying. Dean was weird. He was weird when he just showed up at the house, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here."
Oh, at the car?
Yeah. I felt like he was weird in the scene where he killed the guys, and then I felt like he was weird in that scene. Like, I felt like it wasn't normal Dean. I felt like something was just off on him, and I didn't know what it was. Well, obviously, he was going to help Sam get into this house and knows that it's the woman from when they were, when she was younger. They're going to break in here. They're going to get the box. They're going to do the spell, get the codex, whatever they need from this house.
And then it had been called the suicide house.
And it's the suicide house, exactly.
Did some research.
Dean has them come in. Dean gets himself in, and Sam goes in the back door to get down to the basement to try and get this box and figure out what's going on. And Magnus built the Werther, which almost killed Dean in the last episode, and Abaddon massacred the membership in 1958. So it is now Sam and Dean's legacy that's going to be needed in order, as the Men of Letters, in order to like break this code, which I thought was like, I love when they do something like that and they just bring it all completely together.
Well, and that was Sam's way of kind of convincing Dean that this is something we have to do, because Sam's still trying not to tell him what he's actually doing there. But I like that how on his feet he just thought really fast and he spun it in, to benefit him in that way and say, yeah, we need to do this because it's our legacy. But really Sam has this other thing that he's actually trying to do.
It's obviously possible. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
Susie,
Don't forget about Gus.
And Gus. Susie has not been alone all these years. She's got Gus with her.
Got a little stir crazy in that kind of hoard of a house.
Basically, she says that her aunt was taking care of her till 1980, and then she went in the basement. And so her aunt was killed by this spell, her aunt killed herself by this spell as well.
See, and that's what I'm saying. She was in the basement. She probably let it out, and it got into her. It had to have gotten into Sam, because Dean did not see Rowena at all down there. And that was like, okay, we had Benny, who would never tell Dean to kill himself. Benny was telling Dean to basically do that and stay here in purgatory. This is what you want. This is where you want to be, because that was his manifestation that was trying to convince him to commit suicide, because that's what this box does. So Sam's would have made sense, because Rowena was sitting there saying it needs more blood. It needs all your blood. So that's why he was giving all of his blood. Because we learn later on that multiple Men of Letters can actually give blood.
Yes. But do we think that was only this... Because they obviously showed Susie and Dean's eyes flashing that it had gotten into them. We didn't see it happen to Sam. So do you think that that's their way of doing it, was that they weren't going to show us that it happened to Sam, and that was the illusion then of Rowena?
Yeah, it's the big like, oh my gosh moment of the episode.
Okay, now
freaking out.
Now that I'm thinking about it more, that sounds like it would be logical. I did not pick up on that.
But then he couldn't have asked Dean for his blood while he was opening it, because Dean was like in that like trance kind of motion of what was going on because of that. So even if, like, because they can use more than one person's Men of Letters blood, like theirs or ours, as they called it, ours. Like, he couldn't have asked Dean for that because he was like in his own trance anyway. So Sam had to give all his blood.
Well, yeah. Well, he didn't know that he could have asked for Dean's. Dean was just kind of like, well, then I'll give it too, because he saw his brother dying in front of him.
Why wouldn't he know if it says, like, if it has to be legacy blood? Like, that counts Dean as well.
Well, it was Rowena.
Like, Sam would know that because Sam gave his own.
Well, let's
brothers.
let's delve into that more.
Yeah.
So a spell comes. It takes over Susie, who is now re-envisioning all of her family members, blaming her, saying you can fix this and you can end this, and basically blaming her for all of their deaths. And then we get Dean, who is all of a sudden on this like dirt in the middle of nowhere, and we're back in purgatory, which flashed in the beginning of the episode, and Benny's there, and the visions, all of a sudden now there's a this ghost blaming Susie, and they're trying to persuade. We get Dean trying to be persuaded to kill himself. This mission is going nowhere to cure Dean of the mark of Cain. I mean, literally, Benny's pushing everything, which is why it's so wonderful when we see Dean finally come to terms as he's just about to like kill himself with a bottle in the house. His real body is killing himself. Just he's about to do it. He goes, Benny would never, ever have me do this. The real Benny would never, ever push me to do this, which was so wonderful.
Do you think it was interesting how he like snapped out of that? Like, do you think that had to do with the mark of Cain?
Well, he said a little bit too, besides the fact that Benny would never convince him to, or, you know, tell him to kill himself. The mark wouldn't let him kill himself either. So I think the mark maybe did, in fact, actually help him a little snap out of it.
Impact.
Yeah. I really do think that.
Which I was so glad. I was like, oh my God, he's going to do it. And then like, it's going to like, I don't know, something's going to happen. And Sam will find him.
I thought that, I was like, I knew he couldn't do it, but I figured they're going to get us really, really close to the edge of believing that Dean's going to do something to himself. So Rowena shows up. She says that there's, that they tied Dean up to protect himself, obviously. There's an inscription, sadism of the spell. She cracks the code, and to silence the box, slate its thirsty with the blood of our own, which is the men of the letters blood. Legacy, which is Sam.
She cracked me up in this episode with her dancing in front of Dean upstairs before they went to the basement.
She was fantastic. She was so fun this episode. And I know, like, from seeing her Instagram posts and everything, she had a blast and said she really, really was looking forward to, like, working with both of them and for everyone to see, like, the episodes where she actually gets to be with Sam and Dean and not, you know, working with them instead of against them, as we right now temporarily are seeing.
Right.
Yeah, she was fantastic. So we do find out, obviously, that Dean isn't going to kill himself. He comes back from this whole being in purgatory with Benny. Once again, wonderful to see Benny return.
And we saw Leviathan with the little face that he ended up killing right away when he was in purgatory.
The first one, yep.
Yeah.
Good catch on that. So we get the box is actually starting to crack open with Sam's blood. But as Rowena is gently caressing Sam's bicep, which she said she thoroughly enjoyed, as all of us thoroughly would enjoy doing. The box is it's cracking the code, but it's not enough. They need more, which would wonderfully explain that she is a ghost pushing him to kill himself, and this is the way to do it. It does make sense. I didn't pick up on it, but
I was screaming at my TV, and I wrote, "Rowena isn't real." What? In all caps. I was like, "Oh, she's the illusion. She's convincing Sam to kill himself."
Yeah, that whole scene right there, I was like sitting there, and then when Dean came in and he like pushed him aside, he's like, no, stop, it can take both of our blood, we're gonna do this together. Like, I was like, holy cow, it's gonna open, oh my God, they're gonna get it. But it was like crazy there because Sam was dying.
And he said to Sam, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, go Katie.
He said to Sam, what you're seeing isn't real. And then it showed the two of them there with Rowena gone.
Yeah. Which I did.
She did disappear, and I was like, why did she disappear?
Yeah.
She wasn't real?
Katie was right.
Did it cross your mind? Like, I kind of thought of this, and I was like, that'd be kind of annoying if that happened, so I was glad it didn't. I was like, I wonder if the mark of Cain will affect, like, his blood to be able to still do that. Like, if it's, like, pure, or if it can still be used. That, like, and I was like, so when, like, nothing happened, like, or went wrong with that, and he was still able to draw blood and give that, like, to open it, I was like, oh, good. Because that crossed my mind. I was like, would that have anything to change it? So I was kind of glad that didn't happen, just for the sake of, like, the position Sam was in. But I don't know, it kind of made me think. I was like, it's interesting that didn't affect it.
I didn't think about that, but that is interesting because he was a demon at one point, so is he not so purely a man of letter? But he still is, you know. But
right. It's still a legacy. It's still in his blood. I mean, it'll cure. So they obviously do get the safe open. They get the codex out. And they're stronger together than they are apart, which is what we always say, and why it's always so nice to see when Sam and Dean are working together, because they really have this bond that is unbreakable, and one can't survive without the other. That's what I want to think. I know when I think we finally come to the end of all this, one is going to be living and the other one's going to be dead. I feel like that's just what's meant to happen. I know.
I don't want that to happen. But Mikaela, you were touching on the fact that they're going to have confrontations later, and I completely agree. But it's just so interesting that Dean did say right here, the universe says that we're stronger together than we are apart. But I'm like, but you still keep things from each other. What is that about?
Just brothers being brothers.
Brothers being brothers. Yeah. Do brothers keep things from each other? I don't.
Yeah.
I have a brother, but I'm not a boy, so I don't know if I would keep things from him. I mean, and as close as they are.
So.
Yeah. So it'll definitely be interesting, because we are going to absolutely 100% see more confrontation between the two of them. Obviously, Dean's going to be upset with Sam going behind his back to figure this stuff out. I know Sam doesn't like Dean going off by himself because he doesn't want to know that he's feeding this mark, and he wants to get rid of it. So let's jump to the end of the episode where, Rowena's there for real this time.
Yeah, and she was shocked about the book.
And she was shocked about the book.
Gasping over and caressing it.
Yeah, she was
it was her baby.
Stoked to see this, and she said it's going to take time. And he's like, great. And Sam shackles her up, and he's like, you got plenty of time.
Her calling him giant right there cracked me up. That was my favorite part of the whole
I love that. I love a little from Susie earlier being like, he was tall, white, had pretty hair. Like all these things that the boys get called, moose and giant, and it's perfect. So she's going to be there, and then once she cracks this code and gets rid of the mark, then he'll kill Crowley and she'll be free, and that'll be that.
Because it'll be that simple.
It'll be that simple, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Sam said to her, decrypt the book, find the cure, and then he'll burn the book, but that's all she gets from it, is just like to help him, and then he'll kill Crowley. But she is going to be able to read. If she's decrypting the book, she's going to be able to read it and
everything in there.
Get everything for herself.
I mean, if she doesn't have her iPhone on her to screenshot the pictures.
I mean, she's a witch who probably could remember them or learn them
the spells easily.
I don't know. Interesting.
It's going to certainly be interesting. We have a question here from Denise. I don't know how to say her last name. I'm sorry. It starts with a B. Brennis, I think. Hi, Denise. She sent us a question. She tried to call in last week. She couldn't call in. So she sent us an email with a question about the episode. Pardon me for having to read this right now, because I was trying to pay attention to what you guys were saying and trying to read this at the same time.
No, go ahead.
So I'm just going to read it out. Since we now know the mark is a cure, do you think it's possible that we have seen in each episode a part of the spell?
Oh, I like
Very
that.
interesting. I love it. My thought process is that this is similar to the trials, but instead of one brother being a savior, the spell actually requires both brothers. Love it even more. Ooh. This would enable the brothers' relationship to be mended and go back to season 1. The key of the spell being the connection that was lost between them. I think that internal forgiveness is necessary to remove the mark, but the forgiveness of each of the brothers would be able to overpower the mark. I think it was a key for Dean to hurt Charlie so he could come to peace with acceptance, almost the opposite of killing a hellhound, which represents bad. Charlie represents good. This helped Dean fight the demon inside of him, but not fully. Now Sam would be able to cure his brother with the purity of love, opposite of what they did with Crowley in the church. Well, I think you might get what I mean by now. She would also love to see the necklace come back as a last piece of a spell. Thank you, Denise, for your question and your thoughts. They're amazing. The girls are sitting here all smileys, all smiles. We all are stoked. Thank you so much.
Parallel with the trials, I like that too, when they had to kill the hellhound before. That's interesting. I like that.
So should we jump into predictions and then answer this question?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's do it. Let's jump into some predictions here.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
Denise, I love the fact that you said that there might be a little part of a spell in every episode, which totally makes sense since Rowena has kind of come into the show.
Yeah.
And hearing some of the words they've been saying and spelling the spell out. So I think that that's brilliant. I think that's a perfect way to say that this is working its way along, and then this Book of the Damned coming in and breaking the spell that final way, and also having both the brothers being able to crack the spell, Cain and Abel, and now Sam and Dean. So I think I love that. Next week we did see that Cass's daughter Claire is returning. So I'm.
She seems to have made a deal with an angel, with an assassin, a heavenly assassin, because she's they say at the end of it, like, she's the leader of that whole, whatever that assassin's actually doing.
Well, remember, she was not very happy the last time she saw Sam and Dean because Dean killed all of her family. So
Right, but we kind of had like a little bit of a sign off with her walking away in the middle of the street with Cass, but I just felt like it wasn't enough, because how could all of a sudden she just be this head-on straight teenager?
No, it wasn't going to happen.
She went and made a deal with some supernatural stuff, though, which is interesting.
So how do you think her return is going to help Sam and Dean? Or do you think that it has anything to do with this? Are we taking a little break from the Mark of Cain with her?
I think we're still going to get more story with that, but more of Rowena trying to crack the book as opposed to this whole, Claire Novak story. I think that's going to be separate. And I think we're just going to see Rowena with the Mark.
And you liked the idea that from season 1 and the Hellhound and it coming back now to Dean, hurting Charlie and everything. What do you think about that?
Well, the Hellhound was, I can't remember what season 7.
Is that not season? Oh, okay.
But she's talking about like after the boys, like, with the forgiveness and everything, then it going back to season 1 with them like fighting together,
yes.
Which I would like to see, like the start of season 11, like season 10's chapter close like that into season 11. I think that would be interesting to see them back to season 1 like that. But I like the trials and the similarities that she was mentioning there.
Well, I don't necessarily want to see them go back to season 1, because then I feel like the story yes, they're fighting together, but then it gives us no drama. There's no reason to keep it going. They're fighting, yes, but we want to see a reason for them to be fighting and making it work.
It's come full circle.
It's come full circle, and maybe that's how season 11 then ends.
If it's a final
But I feel like if they start that with season 11 with them coming full circle, where do they have to go for the next 23 episodes?
It kind of depends where they want to take, I think, the direction of Supernatural in the next season. Like, if they want to... I don't know if it's going to be, like, the final season. A lot of people thought this one would be.
Yeah.
I was, like, really adamant. I was like, no way. I was like, as if it will be. But if season 11 was to be, say, the last one, fingers crossed it's not, and if they wanted to go in the direction of, like, coming full circle back to that kind of season 1, would we see the brothers end up with more of a normal life and going on and like living like that? I think that could happen. That would be the possibility. Or we just see like how they're just like really close together and just them continuing like that. So I think it'd be one of the two. I really like Denise's comparisons. Really, really like that. And it's so nice to have like a fan's opinion on here and a different opinion that we can like throw back and forth between us as well. I really like the comparisons, and I think it wouldn't be a downfall if it did come full circle. It could be something that's really fresh and new and reinvent it as well. So I look forward to what happens with that. As for Claire, I think it's going to be a separate storyline to Mark of Cain or Dean and Sam. However, I think what's going to be interesting is to see if, because you said it was like supernatural stuff. I didn't unfortunately get to see the clips, but for next week. But what was it, Katie?
Cass said that he needs help, and there's a heavenly assassin.
Okay, I think what's going to be interesting about Claire Novak's story next week is to see, did they approach her, or has she gone and like sent for them or called upon them, and see like how that kind of actually became.
By using the heavenly assassin, she knew that she'd draw them in? Is that what you're saying?
How did she even get in contact with them? Did they like find her and like prey on her because she was like weak or down? I think I'm interested to see how that came to fruition. Yeah.
I think she has this heavenly assassin guy doing things, and I think that's what's attracted them.
So she's like their master?
Yeah, she's the leader of it all, which is what they said at the very end. They said the ultimate, leader of this whole situation is Claire.
What would you think would make these people like, supernatural beings that have such power, like take, I guess,
a mortal person
from just little Claire Novak?
Well, I'm wondering if there's going to be something where Cass is going to have to use his grace on Claire and save Claire, so that maybe now that does kind of straighten her out a little bit and be more of a believer in it. Yes, they kind of separated, at least on better terms than
yeah.
when we originally saw them together, and her hatred literally for him and stuff, rightfully so.
Right.
But I think it would be really nice to see Cass have to save her life, and then her to go, okay, I need to be more aware of this, which would then bring in this, angel assassin or whatever. Like, that would make a little more sense as to why something's going on with them, or why maybe they kill her, so then Cass has to save her. And that ends that.
Kind of whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see where that storyline goes. As for the Sam and Rowena thing, I do have a prediction.
Yes, give it to us.
If Sam and Rowena are working together, and well, they are, and now that they are working together, and when Dean finds out, do you think Dean would go against Sam, like if he's that like kind of mad that he went to Rowena, and work with Crowley? So it's like Dean and Crowley back together, and Sam and Rowena?
I would love it.
I would like that. I think that would be very interesting.
Yeah, well,
just a cool dynamic.
They have to fight. I mean, I like that because they have to fight for Crowley. Like, Crowley is not going to die. I don't think he's actually going to die. Rowena
No
might
way.
stir
He
up
won't.
some stuff, but he can't.
No. We can't have him die.
I really like that, like to see Dean and Crowley, like that little bromance back together to an extent, and just see them go up against, like, it's brother to brother, and like father to mother, like against each other.
Unless I think Dean is being fed by this mark. I'm not quite sure if that's possible, because he wants to get rid of the mark too. So to go against Rowena and Sam wanting to get rid of the mark, unless Rowena somehow takes advantage of Sam, which is very, very possible, so that Crowley and Dean need to like fight Rowena to save Sam.
And we have to remember too that there supposedly are these horrible things that happen if you do use this book. So Dean is still going to be opposed to that.
The black magic is going to be, it's going to come back tenfold. So we are going to see some force and fight between that.
Can I throw one last prediction out? It's kind of more of a question. Do you guys think, like, we're up to episode 19, so we're going into 20 next week, and there's only like 23, you said, this season? Do you guys think we're going to actually see, like, the curse or the solution to the Mark of Cain come to fruition before the season finale?
Yes.
You do?
I do think that. I think it's going to open up a can of worms, however we fix it, but I do think it's going to be fixed.
I feel like they're going to, like, I'm going to go on the record now as the prediction. I feel like they're going to give us, like, what the solution is, or they might actually, like, be successful with it and do it. And I feel like they're going to leave us right, like, on the last episode, like, something like the, like, the beginning of this season, where he opens his eyes, and we're going to be like, did it work? Didn't it?
And make us wait the entire till
like
next season.
It's going to be hanging a little like that.
I feel like they're going to do that. I mean, remember how long it took Crowley to find the blade when he hid the
first blade?
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember how long it took him to find it again? So I think it's going to take a couple episodes for her to crack this code. Right. But I think we'll get it maybe in episode, if it's 19, we just had 19. So maybe 22, we kind of get what's going on with this book and the code and the translations, and maybe by 23 they start to use it. But once again, like you said, we don't know if it works or not. They leave us hanging until next season.
I think it'll be like that, yeah. Or like it'll be like the one thing, like, we only need this and then we can do it, and we're like, what? How are they going to get that, or how are they going to do that? So
you think that too, Katie?
I think they'll figure it out, but there's going to be a whole new problem that we're going to see at the very end of the episode 23.
Because Katie doesn't want them to use the book. She knows it's bad. She's more worried about the bad that's coming from it. I'm not worried about it. I'm like, use it.
I'm worried.
Unleash the beast. All right. I think that wraps us up for today. Yeah. Thank you again, Denise, for your question and comments. We love having those. Everyone else, feel free to let us know your questions and stuff. Tweet us, comment all the good stuff using the hashtag ABTV. Mikaela, where can they find you?
Thank you, Lyndsey. You guys, you can find me on Twitter at Mickey_Phillips and on Instagram at Mikaela Phillips.
You can find me on Twitter at Katie Campbell. That's Katie with 3 E's. Instagram at Katie Campbell 13. And you can find me at youtube.com/Katie Campbell Online. I do a weekly vlog.
Yay. And you guys can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Lyndsey Wegner. That's LYNDSEYWEGNER. And my blog, lyndseywegner.blogspot.com. We'll see you guys next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Good show, ladies.
Yeah, I really liked